Well, I've been trying to follow this in real time, as so many aspects of the news are. Twitter is not just a way for us to learn the news, it's a way for Donald Trump to spread the news, and Justin Trudeau and others too. And so all of this happened so quickly over the weekend, and one of the people I was following most closely, because he had such a keen eye, is my friend Manny Montenegrino, a former national partner at a significant law firm based in Ottawa. He worked as amongst his clients for Stephen Harper and the Conservative Party. So he comes from a conservative perspective, but he also has the keen eye of a senior lawyer, and what he sees here deeply troubles him as well. Joining us now via Skype is Manny Montenegrino, the president and CEO of Think Sharp. Manny, good to see you. I don't think I did you proper justice in your introduction, but I'll let your words speak for themselves. What is the number one thing that worries you about this fight between Trump and Trudeau?
That we are going to be decimated. Canada is going on the wrong path, and I understand what is happening, and I'm surprised that we have not heard the other story or the strategy coming out of Trump. We tend to dismiss him, we tend to ridicule him, we tend to make light of him and joke. But the man is very serious, and the man is purposeful, and the man has been successful, and we should take him seriously. And I have. And I've reviewed what he's done. I've reviewed what Mr. Trudeau has done, and I'm deeply alarmed for Canada.
Well, that's the thing, is people can object to Donald Trump's style or even his language. And I mean, you can be nitpicky about it, but I see some senior world leaders have said, all right, so Donald Trump is a phenomenon, a force of nature we have to deal with, but let's deal with it in our interest. It looks like Japan has really tried hard to say, all right, we don't quite understand what's going on here, but we know it's so important to Japan to be on the right side of this, because Japan is still reliant on America for its defense, especially in the age of China and North Korea. So I think Shinzo Abe has visited the White House and talked to Trump so often, and he's not getting involved in stupid Twitter fights, or he's just saying, how can I protect Japan? And I think even some European leaders are biting their tongue, even if they have a beef with him, Manny. That's my point, is they don't care about personal, jibes. They're just thinking, how do I save Japan? How do I save Taiwan? How do I save South Korea? How do I protect Italy, Go ahead.
Exactly. Well, let's go through that. We're talking about the trade dispute that's escalating. What we haven't heard is the other side. We dismiss everything coming from the USA. And there's a lot of rhetoric going around, and it sounds great to be a nationalist Canadian. I mean, on my Twitter, I post the fact that I was called by a prime minister as an unwavering patriot. I will fight for Canada, anything that comes in Canada's way. And I feel myself in this biggest battle that I've been involved in my 30 years in this fight. The trade is completely, people are not getting the proper view. Trump has made it very clear at the outset, Canada is not a problem, it's Mexico. And the numbers prove that. There's a huge deficit with Mexico. But yet, for some way, Trudeau throws himself into the mix. It would have been very easy to sign up a trade deal and move on with the USA, because its focus is on the injustices around in every trade deal that they have. Now, China has agreed with Trump and has offered and has agreed to buy $200 billion more in goods. South Korea has agreed. So Trump has already succeeded in his trade discussion, his trade advancement around the world. United States, and he says it, and we don't listen. He said, United States has already lost the trade war. Those are profound words. It's a big statement. United States has lost $800 billion a year every year. Trump is not afraid of the war because they are already being decimated in the war. He doesn't see losing the trade war. He sees winning by engaging in the discussion of a trade war. We don't listen to that. He's already picked up $200 or $300 billion in his quest around the world. Mexico and Canada are being obstinate. Why? And this is what troubles me. Now, another thing is what has Trump said in the trade deal that's offensive to Canada? I have not found, and I put hours of research into this, I have not found one proposal that's offensive to Canada. I know of 6 or 7 proposals that Canada has given to the U.S. that was roundly rejected by China, by Japan, by Australia, and now by the U.S. I know where the injustices lie. And it is protecting the marketing boards that we have in Canada. It's looking for those virtue signal clauses. And Trump has figured that out. So I don't know where USA is on the offensive clause request in this trade deal.
Right. I mean, the other day I showed headlines, August, September, October, November, again and again, Justin Trudeau leading with gender analysis and global warming. And I disagree with Trudeau on those things, but fine, put those in a different track. Don't call that NAFTA. It's not the North American Gender Agreement. It's the North America Free Trade Agreement. I can imagine how frustrating it was for Trump, who has a real beef, and you can say he's wrong, but as you point out, he has this, I mean, for decades he's been on about these trade imbalances. And if our guy's talking about feminism and intersectionality, which was a G7 meeting this weekend, it's gonna. I don't know. It's almost like we're.
But
go ahead.
But Ezra, I put that aside. I know that Trump has put that aside as noise. He is a deal maker. Yeah. He's looking at the fundamental aspect of the deal, and that is to remove Canada from NAFTA and have a bilateral deal. That was an honest and proper,
which is a good idea. If he's about to pummel Mexico, we don't want to be anywhere nearby.
Exactly. And the Canadian Prime Minister should put Canadians first. He doesn't. He sits there in protection. He also offered a 5-year review clause. I've drafted hundreds of clauses. That's a very good clause. Yes. The Prime Minister resoundingly rejected it. No one asked him why. Presently in NAFTA, I think it's Article 34 or 45, forget which, I've gone through it, which provides for an immediate termination of NAFTA on 6 months' notice. What is better for security, a 6-month termination clause or a 5-year deal?
Yeah.
And I offer this as well. In a new economy that we're going through, documents and agreements should be reviewed every 5 years because things change so quickly. I mean, in 5 years, Amazon has grown a full Walmart, what took 60 years to do. The economy is moving quickly. The economy is shifting. Yeah. A 5-year review is good for Canada and good for the United States.
Yeah. And it's just such a weird procedural reason, like a technical reason to oppose a deal. Like you say right now, Trump has already given 6 months notice under the current provisions. Right. So how on earth, why would you even care about a technicality like that as opposed to the substance? Here's what I got a question for you. And you are a long-serving soldier in the conservative battles for this country.
Yes.
And Andrew Scheer, who's the conservative leader, literally on Friday put out a series of tweets where he confirmed his party's commitment to the dairy cartel in Quebec. He said, I just got off the phone with the Saguenay dairy, he didn't use the word cartel, and even Jason Kenney in Alberta was saying, these dairy cartels have been around for 60 years. So we're admitting the problems there. I think real conservative public policy is get rid of the dairy cartels. And if we can say Donald Trump forced us to do that, how's that not a double win? We get rid of the dairy cartels, which we've never had the political capital to do on our own. So we're actually using Donald Trump as the bulldozer to get that deal done. It's a win for us. And maybe we can get a concession in return from Trump, like our auto sector. That's the big deal here, our auto factories.
Right. Well, you've put a good point. I look at it differently. I look at from when I used to go into these big boardrooms and negotiations, I looked at it from the perspective of the person that I was dealing with. And what does Donald Trump think? Donald Trump doesn't care about our milk marketing boards and our dairy, our tariffs that we have and all these little tariffs. He walks into the negotiations honestly and saying, let's start free tariff everywhere. He doesn't care about the 6-year history. He's talking about free trade. We should understand that and respect that. He's also looking at, he has got into power, and I don't know why Canadians are not focused on this, but he got into power because of Michigan and Ohio.
Right.
He looked at Detroit. Detroit is a shell of its former self. Canada now produces 4 million cars, or manufactures 4 million cars. We consume 3 and we sell 1 million. That is Trump's big prize. He tried it a year ago and everyone backed him off. And here's what's happening, Ezra, if you pay attention. Here's what's happening. He wants the auto sector. Yeah. He tried it a year ago, and he didn't have what I will call the political backing in America.
Right.
Now this trade war is happening. Justin Trudeau is elevating it. And I know why he's elevating it, because as you said, everyone's rallying behind the prime minister because we don't like Trump. We want to fight. That gives Trump the opening to go after the auto sector. We are giving him the justification to say, hey, why is Detroit empty? Why is Michigan empty? Why are we not building the cars in America? And you know what? Justin Trudeau's giving him the license. If we lose the 1 million cars, that is equivalent to $100 billion in GDP to Canada. We can't sustain that. Trump wants it, and we're making it happen because of crass politics by the Prime Minister and the Liberals to shore up votes at the expense of our economy. Nick, go ahead, Ezra.
No, I'm terrified by it. I mean, it's such a contrast. Donald Trump loves industrial jobs. He loves hard hats. He loves guys who drill and dig and build. And I think of how Justin Trudeau frittered away $100 billion worth of pipelines and oil sands. And that was Canadian stuff that we were building here. I just don't think Justin Trudeau values that. He would rather be the champion of the UN and the third world, the global leader of the opposition to Donald Trump. He'd rather get the kudos from the EU than have an auto industry. And I know that sounds insane, but we watched him destroy $100 billion of oil industry. I think there's a real risk that Trump is going to say, hey, GM, Ford, Fiat Chrysler, come back to Michigan. I'll lower your taxes. I'll lower your fuel economy standards. And by the way, I'm putting a 25% tariff on American stuff, so you should come anyways.
Well, that's all he's going to do. He understands it. You put a tariff on Canadian cars, they'll build them in America. You're not going to buy a car that's $20,000 more because it comes from Canada. Trump knows what he's doing. What is happening? I kind of disagree. I think what Trudeau is doing, and it's crass political movement. Trudeau has lost credibility because of his India trip. Right. He is not seen of a man of substance. And you see certain polls, even I'm surprised that 2.5 years in, his mismanagement of mostly every file has got him in very low in polls. The only way that he can bump himself up in the polls is by this nationalistic movement. And that is to say, me against Trump. And we're all rallying. You see conservatives rallying because it's the right thing to do. It's the wrong thing to do. And I'll give you the numbers, Ezra, and people are not. There is equal trade between Canada and U.S. It's about $350 billion each. Mm-hmm. That only represents 2% of America's GDP. It represents 20% of Canada's GDP. We forget that Canada is 1/10 the size, although we have equal trade. Right. If Trump risks the 2%, let's say he cuts it in half, that 1% with trade wars and so on. Yeah. America is growing at 3.5% this year. Mm-hmm. Trump has got $200 billion from China, $100 billion from North Korea. He's already, while Justin Trudeau takes his days off, he's already shored up the ability to withstand a 1% cut in GDP with a war to get auto. Yeah. Canada can't withstand it. We've already got our oil industry in trouble. Our GDP this year is going to grow at 1.3%. We've lost 53,000 jobs. Canada is weak. We cannot take a hit of 10% of our GDP. We will be in a deep recession. And if we lose our auto industry, we will lost it forever. So stop with the politics. People understand this is a very sincere and real risk, and Trump wants it. Trump wants it badly. He tried last year. Now he has the ability to do it. He has America on his side to do it. And we're going to lose the auto industry, and we'll never get it back. Yeah. And we have to take this very seriously. And I'm disappointed with conservatives. I'm disappointed with liberals. I'm certainly disappointed with the prime minister. But I do know that Trump will succeed in this, and we can't win this war. The numbers don't make it for us.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few people speaking clearly on this. I saw Jean Charest was deeply concerned. And he would know. I think he would know he's enough removed from the fray that he's not all about positioning and ego. He can call it like he sees it. Manny, it's great to talk with you.
Now, just one more point, if I can add, if you have a few seconds.
Sure.
We've seen it already in British Columbia. A year ago, the BC election happened, and they were very clear. They want to stop Kinder Morgan. Trudeau did nothing for a whole year.
Yeah.
The democratic will of the people, and you know what? The premier's doing what he vowed to do, much like Trump said what he's vowed to do. He ignored it. The prime minister ignored it till the last minute. And what has happened? We have a trade war between Alberta and BC, and we bought a pipeline and we destroyed investment.
Yeah.
Now Trudeau is doing this, ignoring the pleas of what's happening in America, and it's going to be 100 times worse than what we experienced out west.
You're so right.
Thank you.
We, in slow motion, we watched that crisis unfold between Alberta and BC, and Trudeau was like a deer in the headlights or a spider caught in amber, whatever your analogy is.
Right.
And he just was in slow motion while the rest of the world was going by. And Trump moves at the speed of Trump.
And the real risk is Canada, Alberta, and BC will fix their problems because we are Canadians. But once we lose the auto sector, there'll never be a president that'll say, we'll give it back to Canada.
You can't move the oil sands to the United States because they're stuck in Canada. You can pipe it down there and they'll take the oil. But the auto factories, you can move those, absolutely. And that's what Trump's after. Manny, it's great to catch up with you. Let's keep in touch on this story as it goes forward.
No problem.
All right.
Take care. Thank you, Ezra.
Thank you, too. That's our friend Manny Montenegrino. He's the president and CEO of Think Sharp. That's an excerpt from my daily TV show, The Ezra Levant Show. Normally it's behind a paywall, but I thought you'd like this video, so we put it on YouTube. If you want to subscribe to watch the daily show every day, including always 2 interviews a day, and I read my hate mail, just click on this screen and become a premium member.